Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, I bow to the Lord Vasudeva. Joy to you, friends. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, if you are killed in battle, you will attain heaven. If you win this war, you will obtain earthly glory. Arise, therefore, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, determined to fight. The truth is that even in worldly battle, those who die for a good cause, if they are willing to give up their body, they don't die with fear, they don't die with anger and hatred. Sometimes in boot camp they try to get you to hate the enemy. They're just human beings like you. There's no call for hate. And you don't need hate to do your duty as a soldier. A soldier has to kill. He doesn't have to kill with anger. In fact, he will have a lot more concentration if he doesn't have anger. Those who are good fencers will try to make their opponents angry sometimes, knowing that they will make mistakes if they get angry. You have to be very calm inside, and then you can master your war, your struggle. And if you give up your body willingly, not being afraid of death, that lack of body consciousness, that lack of attachment to the body ensures you going to a higher level in the astral world. Because everybody who dies in this world, usually human beings die with some regret, some attachment, some thought, oh, I'm leaving my poor body behind. It may be old, it may be crippled, it may be feeble, it may be sick, it may be all sorts of things, but it's still my body. But it's not your body. And if you die with that thought, you'll just have to make another one and another one. And the person who says, no, I don't need this body, I'm going to die for the truth, they automatically will go to a higher heaven. This is why the American Indians used to talk of the happy hunting grounds. When I was 14, I was writing a novel called that, a very interesting theme, which I can't go into now. But that happy hunting ground of the higher astral spheres, not the highest by any means, those come with true freedom. But you remember, the higher the sphere, the more the bliss, the more the beauty, the more everything works for you. And the lower the sphere, the less the light, the greater the darkness. That movie, What Dreams May Come, people are also roaming about, hardly aware of what's going on. I wouldn't call that heaven at all. And then there are the darker spheres of people who have committed suicide. There are still darker and darker spheres. But remember, it's all the darkness is all in your own mind. That's why those nuns who went to hell because they had disobeyed their superiors, they didn't have to have that kind of feeling of guilt. When you die with courage, that's why I say all of life is a preparation for that final exam of death. To learn non-attachment, to learn charity and goodwill, to die not hating anyone but with forgiveness. You will find that, as I had a dream many years ago, I think I may have talked about it earlier, about this friend of mine to whom I had been extremely loyal and supportive, and because of my loyalty, he took advantage of me. And gradually, the advantage he took of me brought me to the point of very deep bitterness against him, that I had given him love and support and loyalty, and he had taken it for granted. And I was about to die in this dream, and I thought, I felt a great bitterness toward him. And I realized suddenly that if I die with this bitterness, I'll be reborn with it. And I'll be reborn in a position where I will be able to treat him that way. And he will have to suffer for my mistreatment and contempt. And then I'll have to go through the same thing again. He'll have to go, like waves on a pond or ripples on a pond, going back and forth until finally they die down and it becomes just a clear pond again. Well, these are truths. And I remember that in my dream I was thinking, why should I waste so many lifetimes? I forgive now. And in that feeling of forgiveness, I woke up and I felt so happy. Forgive everybody. For your own sake, forgive. Because everything finally has to be for your own sake. You must be generous to other people for your sake. Because that expands your ego. Yes, you make them happy. That's very nice. But the most important thing is that it blesses you. It expands your sense of self-identity to include their self-identity. And the less you have of ego, the more you have of God. The less you have of the thought that I have to keep feeding this individual consciousness, the more you have the ability to tune in to be a channel for the great bliss of the infinite. And believe me, the more you live that way, the more bliss you feel. And it becomes very hard to control sometimes, difficult not to weep with joy. But when you live in the right way, remember, you will go when you die to the right place. And if you don't, then the levels of darkness that you create around yourself, it's not that God created hell, you create that hell. And you do go to places where other people who have created that hell live also. But nothing is permanent. You may be in the lowest hell, you can't stay there forever. There's this story that Master told about a woman who was very selfish and cheating everybody and doing everything she could, but one time somebody gave her a carrot, or she stole a carrot, and she bit into it and found that there was a worm there, so she gave the carrot away. When she died, she went to hell, of course, and she was just ranting and raving like she'd been on the earth plane. And she said, I don't belong here. Get me out of here. What are you doing keeping me here? And they showed her book of life. It was pages after pages with writing in between the lines, in the margins and everything, all the wrong things she had done. There's got to be something good. So finally they looked at pages of blank sides on the good side, blank pages. And then finally they discovered that she had given this carrot to somebody because it had a worm in it. And they said, well, that's not much of a good deed, but at least it was something. So they materialized, the divine forces over there materialized a magic carrot for her. And they said, if you hang on to this, it will lift you. And so it is, if you hang on to any good deed you have done, any goodness in your nature, it will lift you. And she found herself being lifted toward heaven, and other people saw her coming up from the floor of heaven, and they grabbed onto her feet, and other people grabbed onto their feet, and she looked down below. She felt this tugging. She looked down. There was this long train of people being pulled up with her as she rose with her magic carrot, and she said, this is my carrot. You don't deserve to be here. And she kicked, and as she did so, she let go of the carrot and fell down with all of them. Well, it's an allegorical story to tell you that any good deed can be your raft over the ocean of delusion, you could say, your magic carrot. But you must at the same time think of helping other people too. And any good deed, any goodness that you have, cling to that. Never say, well, I'm basically wrong. Know that you are basically good, because sooner or later you will have to realize you are a child of God. This is why the Masters come into this world again and again, to help us out of this delusion that we are children of evil and darkness. Joy to you.